that was an awesome introduction. I know because I wrote it. I tried to, thank you. I tried to sneak in that awesome to see if she'd pick it up. And she picked it up. So thank you. Happy New Year. Everybody survived the holidays. Anybody fly Southwest over the holidays? Smart people. You're gifted, so you knew not to fly Southwest. Thank you for inviting me. You know, I'm still a Catholic. These days I wonder why I'm still a Catholic, but I'm still a Catholic. And so really I want to talk about Ascension. You know, we hear so much about Ascension. 3-dimensional, 5-dimensional, poor 4D. Nobody ever talks about 4D. It's just like, yeah, we'll bypass 4D, 5D. And I feel this is what Spirit wants me to talk about. I have to update my, thank you for keeping this, I have to update my thing a little bit. I don't blog anymore. I don't have, I'm losing one already. My God, I just started. Is it going that bad? He's heading for the end. Normally they do rise for the feet, but and he's going outside. It's like, yeah, I've had enough of this guy. 17 seconds. Holy cow. I was going to give him a message too. All right, so I want to throw out some statistics for you. I'm going to do this kind of quick because I want to do as many messages as I can. I'm a clairvoyant. That's my main gift. So when I do messages, just realize it may not be loved ones coming to you. It may be more of a clairvoyant message. We good with that? We good with that? Yes. Okay. All right. And I got a special guest. I got a mentor right here and Teresa in the back. Raise your hand, Teresa. I didn't say wave, I just said raise your hand. Okay, anyways. She was a mentor of mine. There was a circle that I started to belong to, and she was the very first person I gave a message to me. I gave a message to her, so I love her to death. Glad she said, how many people here are in any type of circle? Raise your hand. What's the matter with the rest of you? Okay, now, how many people have bought my book? Raise your hand. That's not good enough. I got to buy a new pair of Skechers. It's going to talk about some more books. So anyway, I talk about church and religion an awful lot, and mainly religion. Here's some statistics for you, and this will tie in together when I talk about Ascension. Church attendance in the U.S. and Europe, it used to be mainly Christianity, okay? Christianity is what we're going to talk about. That's what I'm familiar with. Only about 35% of people who identify themselves as Christian actually go to a church, right? And it's funny, they did a survey. They found that church and religion was helpful, but not truthful. Okay, that was an awkward pause. Anyway, yeah, I do want to talk about the book. When books like this first started coming out, it was in the category of the occult, right? And then it developed into New Age, right? And so now it's self-transformation. So this is all going to tie into what I'm going to say, excuse me. For the last 20 years, about 20 years ago, 8% of people said they did not identify with any type of religion, okay? And now it's 21%. And that may not sound like a big jump, but we're talking about billions of people, right? Or millions, hundreds of millions. Okay, sorry. Spirit's talking to me. I don't know what you're saying. Anyway. In 1946, 66% of the people said they belonged to religion, right? Then baby boomers, came along, 56%. Generation X, 50%. Now it's millennials and Generation Z, 36%, right? When I do gallery readings, I did about 7 or 8 gallery readings last year. And I picked out 4. I did one in Melbourne, one in Jacksonville, one here in Orlando, one down in Punta Gorda before Ian came along. And the average attendance the year before was about 20, 25, which is fine. Then last year it grew to about 45, 50 people. And I always take a survey. In fact, I'll take a survey here. How many people grew up Catholic, or were Catholic at one point? How many people are still Catholic? You can feel the breeze of the hands going down. So I take this survey at the beginning of every gallery reading. Then I also ask them, how many people, this is the first time you've done anything like ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, half of the hands go up. I was in a hospital for, a lot of you know, for about 8 months, had a heart and kidney transplant. And coming up on my 3-year anniversary on January 22nd. And once I got out of the hospital, it was slow getting back and doing readings. I don't do as many as I used to. And so in 2021 and 22, easily 60% of the people that come to me for a reading are brand new. Brand new. They've either never done anything like this, or they did something like this 20 years ago to a psychic. And psychic has definitely negative connotation. Anybody see the Netflix special on Miss Cleo? The documentary on Miss Cleo? Anybody here remember Miss Cleo? Yeah. She'll watch a documentary. It's something else. So, my point is this. They point to the decline in religion as, well, the parents don't teach your kids about religion, so therefore they're not in churches anymore. And they have the internet, and they have video games and all this other stuff. And I disagree. None of my kids go to Catholic church. I don't browbeat them. They don't go to Catholic church. And we were brought up, they went to Catholic schools. They went, if you're in the Orlando area, all 3 of them went to St. Margaret Mary. The 2 of them went to Bishop Moore. One of them, Bishop Moore, wasn't his thing. And so he went to another school. So we had tons of Catholic education. I think my point is this, folks, there's a lot of young people here. People want more than just what the borders and boundaries of religion teaches us. That's why you're all here. This is a big crowd. I know you didn't come here to hear me speak. And so how do we identify ascension? We've heard about how does someone ascend. I used to be very conservative, not so much anymore. I used to be very structured. I do have an analytical brain. I have ADD, in case you can't tell. I don't like books. And Spirit said, we want you to write a book. I went, you don't understand. I don't like books. My wife Mary gave me a book earlier last year. It was about this thing. She said, would you read a book? I didn't see the book. She said, would you read a book if I gave it to you? Well, let me see. She handed up a book about this thing, and I went, yeah, not going to happen. It's a good book. I'm sure it is. Just tell me about it afterwards. And so here I am, and I'm writing books. You know, something I thought I'd never do. Here you all are, because you want something more. It's great that you're here to hear messages from loved ones, or messages from the universe, messages from Spirit. I use God, the universe, and Spirit interchangeably. But you want more. There's something in you that says, I want more. You all have gifts, or else you wouldn't be here. So, my point is, I look at events as they happen and see where is the ascension. I talk about this an awful lot. One night, my buddy and I were going to a jazz concert at Dr. Phillips. I'm a big jazz person. We're going to see Chris Bodie. And next morning I get up. We didn't get home till late, maybe 12:31. Next morning I get up, and everybody's talking about Pulse and what happened at Pulse. And I knew of Pulse. I'd driven by Pulse before, and it was a nightclub where young people went. I didn't label it as gay or straight or bi or whatever. And to see the line of people that were given blood, including my oldest son and his entire family were there. They waited 2 hours. That's part of an ascension, right? That people aren't going to look at somebody and put a label on them and just say, there's somebody in need, so we have to go help them, right? How many people here are football fans? Okay. I follow college football, pro football. I joined a fantasy football league. Why? I have no idea. Because everybody, Jared, you set your lineup? I don't know. How do you do that? Although I won the league last year. I think Spirit just said, fine, we'll let him win the league 1 year, and maybe he'll show up about fantasy football. So, this past Monday night, was it the Monday night, the young man has a cardiac arrest on the field. Ladies and gentlemen, I think in the past, they'd have played the game. They'd have gone on and played the game. Because it's about money. It's about TV. It's about everything. Instead, they decided not to play the game, and now they're not going to play the game. That's a slow ascension. when I look at something, ladies and gentlemen, I see, okay, that's not something I see every day. To me, that's an implant of Ascension. When I see something or hear of something, I go, wow, that's unusual. That's how I write. I was sitting back there. The young lady in the white, you're going to be the first one I come to. She got out of the car as I was driving up, and those boots are awesome.
Thank you.
I would say those boots are made walking, but nobody's going to know what I'm talking about in that game. It's Nancy Sinatra, by the way. You want to look it up. And I'm sitting by her. She's got so much energy. I told her she was giving me a headache. Respectfully, that's a good thing. And I sat there and wrote something down that Spirit told me to write. Because this is how I write a book. It takes me 2.5 years to write a book. You know, Spirit gives me a line, and I go, what else? And Spirit goes, you fill in the rest. I go, you just gave me a line. And so these are things that are ascending. And 10 years ago, if you told me I'd be doing this, I told you, I said you'd be crazy. You know, I believe you're dead. There's good and there's bad, there's heaven and there's hell. And we know it doesn't really work like that. And so the Ascension in all of us that wants to see more, that believes in, see, even though I'm Catholic, Spiritualism teaches about the continuity of life. And that's why it's so important. Oh, he's coming back. We should all applaud when he comes back. You want to do that?
No.
Okay, we won't do that. Killjoy. Don't stare at her. Don't stare at her. It's not for you. So, when people aren't going to church, aren't going to religion, it means they've ascended. They want more. They want to know more. I've struggled with my Catholic church. I love being a Catholic. I don't love everything about it, but I love being a Catholic. It draws me closer to God. Believe it or not. And so we only got a couple more things, which leave a lot of thank you messages. It's pretty cool, huh? See, she's impressed. Oh, by the way, if it's all right, can I sing an hour and give messages after we end it? Is that okay? Or not?
Well, we have mini readings today.
Oh, never
Unless
mind.
you'd like to volunteer to do a mini reading or two.
If I'm not home by 2 o'clock and take down the Christmas trees, there's going to be a lot of angst in the McDaniel household. So I'm under the gun here.
We can work with that.
Okay, yeah. So, what else? And so when we talk about Ascension, it starts in here. I honestly believe it starts with thought. Thoughts are energy, right? And thoughts leads us to how we believe, and how we believe leads us to how we behave. If we believe a certain way, we're going to behave a certain way. If we believe our loved ones are not dead, the shell in the body is dead, but the soul lives on. You know, I do a lot of readings where people have lost children. It's tough. It's tough. A lot of people who have had, I know it's being recorded, don't mind saying it, who have had abortions, and they have lived with that guilt. And Spirit goes, move on. The soul's still there. The soul is still in Spirit. It just wasn't meant to be for whatever reason. And I'll end with this. I used to do these tent. Has anybody ever heard of Zombie Toberfest? Okay. Well, you have? Welcome back, by the way. I thought I lost you.
No.
Okay. So I was invited to this thing in, is it Evelyn Park? I think Evelyn Park, called Zombie Toberfest. And you can set up a tent, Jared, and put psychic readings, right? And so I go and I set up a tent. It starts pouring down rain. I said, donation, you know. And I'm listening to classic rock, which I love classic rock, right? And all these people are sitting at their tents, and all of a sudden, here come the zombies. All these people dressed as zombies. It's absolutely crazy. 300 or 400 people dressed as zombies. And then a line starts to form outside. And it's pouring rain. And there's this lady, probably in her 70s or 80s, probably waited about 30 minutes to talk to me. And once she came in, I saw a little boy come through. And long story short, ladies and gentlemen, the little boy was her brother. And her brother had run out into the street and was killed by a car, run over by a car. And he was about 5 and she was about 7 or 8, somewhere around there. Her family blamed her for that and continued to blame her for that for the better part of 60 years. And just the pain on her face. But when the little boy came through and said, "Sis, I knew not to go out into the street. I knew not to go out in the street when I was 2 or 3 years old, much less 5. It's okay." And when she hugged me, and just the sobbing, and the relief, that's when you know the other side has really, really helps us. That's when we ascend, right? That's when we ascend. I connect I belong to another organization called From Grief to Hope. It's a great organization, helps people deal with grief. And a lot of people in that organization, a lot of the parents have lost their children to suicide. And I know there's a lot of thoughts about suicide. I can only tell you my experience, right? I'm not here to convert anybody to how I think, coerce or convince you to how I think. This is just how I think, this is my experience. And I can connect with them after a period of time, right? And the relief, because there's so many questions. I think we all know someone who's taken their own life. And the questions that they have had, did I say something? Did I cause that person to take their own life? I should have done this, could have done this, I would have done this had I known. And those people come through and say, it's no guilt, it's not your fault. And to see that person lift up is an ascension in itself. And it's a belief that the other side exists and the other side is here to help us. So this new age of ascension has been going on for a while. It just takes slow. It's like, folks, it's like the universe is like a dimmer switch. It's not an on-off switch. It's just a slight dimmer switch. And just slowly. And I'm a big, last thing I'll say, I promise, leave a lot of time for messages, is I'm a big believer in Richard Rohr. I'm a big follower. Anybody here follow Richard Rohr? Yay! I've seen him. I've attended his conferences out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is a guy that has battled cancer 4 different times. He's in the last stages of his life. He has a major heart attack. He's in his 70s. He's written 34 books. It's just incredible. He's an incredible guy that you folks who know him. He has a couple of sayings. One is, I like to ask pain, what is it you're trying to teach me? And of course, I can't remember the other comment. Oh my God, again, I'm such a knucklehead. Anyway, but Richard Rohr doesn't talk about things of the United States. He talks about global and the cosmos. And the church, the Catholic Church, just doesn't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it, which is fantastic. And so, in his messages of ascension, he talks about ascending. He talks about being aware of the energies. He talks about things of the cosmos. He talks about spirit. This is a Franciscan mystic who talks about spirit, similar to what we talk about, spirit. How many people have heard of the Akashic records? A lot of people here. Do you know they're mentioned in the Bible? Anybody know that? It's called the Book of Life. So when somebody pushes back an Akashic record, because I have my own battles with fundamentalism. People will quote Bible verses to me. I go, I'm glad you read the Bible. That's fantastic. Let me quote one back to you. I'm Catholic. We don't know the Bible. We just know verses. We don't, And when I quote back a Bible verse that says, listen, here's another way to look at things. You can tell they kind of accept that a little bit. They don't come at me. I'm not going to tell them, by the way, your dead grandmother says hi. I don't think that would go over real well. So I choose something else. I choose a Bible verse because that's their language. And you can tell that's how we ascend, right? We have to bring everybody up who believe in the things we believe, or at least expose them, or give them information to just, I tell everybody, just keep an open mind. I have people come to me and says, I don't believe in what you do. And I said, that's fine. I don't think you're the only one that doesn't believe in what I do. I don't think you're the only one. And so think about ascension. Think about what can you do to ascend yourself, because it starts with us, right? And how we can impart this on other people. And for the world to ascend, for the cosmos to ascend, we have to ascend. And it's been going on for a long time. And it'll continue to go on. God bless you for thinking. Welcome back, young man. I appreciate it. And